April 16th, 1799, there was a battle that was fought in the valley of Mount Tabor, alongside the banks of the river Kishon by Napoleon. 223 years ago, Napoleon defeated the Ottoman Empire there. Some 2,000 something years before that, there was another battle that was fought right there. But let's look at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 32. And what more shall I say? I do not have time. And by the way, this is a common problem for anybody who takes this verse. Brother Collins was allowed to start at 12:22 Sunday, and he had to rush through. And I have been given 10 minutes very clearly by Pastor Thomas, so I'll keep an eye on him. When he starts saying Amen, I'll stop. So I'll keep an eye on him. So, it's a common problem. Not having time when you get to this verse is a common problem. So, Brother Collins talked about Gideon, and it was a wonderful message about Gideon. My eyes went to the person right after him, Barak. Not a very common spoken of person, so I decided to test this. I asked Kessia when she was brushing her teeth one night, do you know Barak? She looked at me and said, yes. So I said, tell me about Barak. She said, Barack Obama, I know him, he doesn't know me. So I said, okay, this is really worthy of a message. Let me talk more about Barak. Right? Barak is not a common person we hear about in Sunday schools, right? Turn with me to Judges chapter 4. And I don't know when I started, so when it's time, please, Pastor Thomas or somebody give me a cue. Judges chapter 4, I'll read a few verses from here and there, and I'll kind of rush through the message, and then you connect the dots. Okay? So, it starts with saying, and after Ehud died, the Israelites once again did evil. This is a common refrain all through Judges. They learn, they stop, they learn, they stop, and it keeps going on. Common refrain. The commander of somebody's army, Jabin, a king of Canaan, was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth Hagoyim. That was verse 2. Verse 3, because he had 900 iron chariots and had cruelly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years, they cried to the Lord for help. He had 900 iron chariots. Those of you who look at ancient warfare, you know that chariots are a force multiplier. It's like having MBTs, main battle tanks today, right? The Russians were able to go into Ukraine because of all their armor. It is not a match for foot soldiers because chariots can go around the armies, shoot bows and arrows. So clearly, the Israelites lived in terror. At this time, Deborah, a prophetess. Deborah's calling was to be a prophetess. She was leading Israel. So the prophetess was playing the role of a judge. Double timing. Potentially because nobody in Israel was willing to step up to their calling. Verse 6, I'm skipping here and there, okay? So please just stay with me, follow on. She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, the Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go, take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead the way to Mount Tabor. I will lure Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to Kishon River and give him into your hands. The prophetess makes a prophecy here. She says, go. Go. And Barak responds, if you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go. Now in that day and culture, that statement was a very difficult statement for a man to make. It was very difficult. It's as difficult as The shamefulness in it is like the men's volleyball team here getting thrashed by the women's volleyball of this church, which is why, maybe if the women start playing volleyball, the men will stop playing volleyball, right? It's like it's that much. That's how it is in that culture. Deborah says, verse 9, "Very well, I will go with you, but because of the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman." And often we think the woman that is mentioned here is Deborah. And it is not Deborah, right? Because if you read ahead, right, we'll find that the person who actually killed Sisera was a woman named Jael. Let's go back to Hebrews. Going back to Hebrews, right? And this is the topic of if I were to title my message, my youth message today, it'll be titled "From Hall of Shame to Hall of Fame." Right? If you look at the people who are mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11, and Brother Collins, I'm continuing from where you left, with your permission. If you look at the people who are mentioned there, start with Abel. He was killed by his brother. What kind of a man is he? He couldn't fight back. Killed by his brother. Enoch, all we know, he walked. Go further. Noah, lots of wrong things about him. Abraham, liar, coward, say what you want about him. Jacob, deceiver. Isaac, deceived. Sarah, liar, contemptuous. Keep going down and you find each one of them. Joseph, bragger. Keep going and you'll find Moses, couldn't stay in the palace, loser. Stutterer, said, "I need Aaron." And you keep going. As you keep going, Rahab, prostitute. Keep going down and you find that every one of them, Samson, Jephthah, you keep going, every one of them has a flaw. Yet they're lifted up into this hall of fame. Why? Why are these people lifted up from hall of shame to hall of fame in faith? And for that we'll keep looking at Barak, right? Now, Barak means thunder, lightning. That was his name. And he, despite his acceptance of weakness, now, what he did was he accepted his weakness. He went to the lowest form of acceptance. He tells a woman in that culture, by the way, in today's culture, I'm not shy to tell my wife to help me lift a cupboard. She will do it better than me. Because today's culture, women have come quite a ways, right? I mean, there's quite a bit of progress that has happened, right? Sometimes the women in our homes earn more. There's so many things that happen, right? Life has progressed. But in that culture, for him to make that acceptance to a woman is a big deal. And if you look at all these people who have been lifted up from hall of shame to hall of fame, it's about the weakness they accept. Accepting weakness is the first step in being lifted up to the hall of fame. Long story short, the very strength that Sisera had, his chariots, and the very thing the Israelites feared, his chariots, were the thing that led to his defeat. Because if you look through what happens, you can read through Deborah's song of praise in chapter 5, you'll know what happened was the banks of the river Kishon flooded, his chariots got stuck, They had to leave the very strength they had out there, and they had to run by foot. That's how God works, friends. He uses the very things we are afraid of, the very things we fear, are the things that God uses to give us victories. An acceptance of our fears. Turn with me to, and I'll close with this because I don't want to create a time mess up here. Psalm chapter 51. I'll close with this. Verse 16. You do not delight in sacrifice, or I would bring it. You do not take pleasure in burnt offerings. Verse 17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. When the day before Kessia had her CCTA, Pastor Johnson called me and prayed, and he mentioned this verse, a broken and contrite heart, O God, you will not despise. God does not need our strength. He does not need our eloquent messages. He does not need our ability and everything else. He'll use it. But if that's what is going to lift us to the Hall of Fame, no. It's our weaknesses. It's that broken and contrite heart that we can go before Him. People like Barak got mentioned in this Hall of Fame for faith because of their acceptance of their weakness. Today, for the young people, look at your weakness. Do not let your weakness bring you down. Accept your weakness. Go before the Lord with a broken and contrite heart. The very things that bring you down are the things that will lift you up. We had a wonderful time of worship. Miriam, I know you'll be missed when you go from here. The day I walked into this church in Waltham 10 years ago, you were leading a song. That was the first thing we heard. You will be missed here. But as the youth here, you have built this church in so many ways. It's your acceptances of weaknesses, looking to the Lord, broken, contrite hearts, that will lift you up and lift communities, churches, nations to the Lord. May the Lord bless you.